The dining room at Dalton Ridge felt warmer than it looked, not because of the lights or the fire, but because everyone was pretending. I sat at the far end of the table, hands folded, listening to the clatter of silverware and the easy laughter that never included me. Caden raised his glass first. "To another year of progress," he said. His smile leaned toward arrogance. "Some of us actually did something with our lives." Elaine gave him a look of fond pride. "Your deals this year were remarkable, Caden. Truly remarkable." Warren nodded along, carving into the roast like nothing else mattered. "Your mother and I are proud." I kept my eyes on my napkin. "Progress looks different for everyone." Caden barked a laugh. "Sure, Rory. Restoring old houses for pocket change. A real visionary." His wife, Lana, shifted uncomfortably beside him but said nothing. She never did when the temperature in the room began to drop. I lifted my gaze. Work is work. Some of us build quietly. That was all it took. Caden leaned back in his chair, swirling his wine. "Quiet is right. You coast here for free while we carry the weight. It is embarrassing, honestly." Elaine spoke softly, but every word cut clean. "Your brother contributes more than you realize." "And you contribute nothing," Caden added. "In fact," he stood abruptly, "I think it is time we finally said it. By morning, I want you out of this house." He threw his wine toward me. The red splash struck my dress, warm and heavy. Lana gasped. Warren stopped cutting but did not speak. Elaine looked almost satisfied. I inhaled slowly. Instead of crying, I reached into my pocket and placed an old barn key on the table. Its metal clicked against the wood. "No," I said. "You have 60 seconds. Silence broke across the room like glass. "And if you want to know why," I added gently, "stay with me through this story. Listening helps more people hear what really happened at Dalton Ridge." Caden stared at the key, confused and furious. Elaine's smile faltered. Warren lowered his fork. My heartbeat steadied. 60 seconds, I repeated. When the silence in the dining room grew too sharp to breathe, my mind slipped back to the winter 9 years earlier, the first year I returned home for good. Agnes had been sitting in her old armchair by the window when I walked in, her blanket tucked under her chin. "You came back," she whispered, smiling like the whole ranch had exhaled. "I only planned to stay a few weeks," I told her, dropping my bags. "Just until you get stronger." She patted my hand with her thin fingers. "Rory, you always say that. And you always stay." Caden arrived later that evening, stomping snow off his boots. "Look who finally remembered where home is," he said, pulling off his gloves. "Planning to help or just passing through?" "I help plenty," I answered. He shrugged. "Sure. Until Los Angeles calls you back." Agnes cut in gently. "Leave her be, Caden. This place needs her." He let out a short laugh. "It needs someone who actually knows what they are doing." I swallowed the sting. "I know enough to keep things running." "No," he corrected. "You know enough to patch holes. That is not the same as building something." Agnes squeezed my hand again. "Roots hold the ground, my girl. Branches only pretend to reach the sun." Caden rolled his eyes. "There you go again with those metaphors." "They are true," she said. "And one day, you will understand." Later, as we helped Agnes settle into bed, Caden muttered, "She always favored you. I never understood why." His voice carried a resentment that felt older than both of us. I tucked the blanket around Agnes and whispered, "Good night, Grandma." She looked at me with soft certainty. "Rory, you were meant to be here." Caden stood in the doorway, arms crossed, jaw tight. And for the first time, I felt the weight of what that meant. The first winter I stayed, the bills started piling up faster than the snow. Agnes needed medication, the pipes kept bursting, and the irrigation pump wheezed like it wanted to die. I was doing my best to keep everything together when Caden called one night, voice too cheerful to be harmless. "I need a small favor," he said. "Just $5,000. A deal fell through." I blinked at the phone. "Caden, that is almost all the money I have saved." He laughed like I was joking. "Come on, Rory, it is nothing. I will pay you back in a week." Before I could answer, I heard another voice slip onto the line. Elaine. "Sweetheart, your brother is under a lot of pressure. It is Christmas. Help him." "Mom," I whispered, "I have expenses too. Agnes?" "Family helps family," she said, using the same tone she used when I was 8, and she wanted obedience, not discussion. Caden added, "Do not be difficult, Rory. Not during the holidays." I transferred the money 2 hours later. He sent a one-line text. "Got it. Thanks." That night, I opened my old laptop and created a blank spreadsheet. I typed the first entry, $5,000, pressured by Caden and Mom, unpaid. I stared at the words until they felt etched into me. The next months brought more requests. "The septic tank failed," Warren said. "The water tax increased," Elaine added. "The barn roof is sinking. Can you take care of it?" Caden asked, as if I were an employee. I kept patching, fixing, paying, one emergency after another. And each time I opened the spreadsheet, the number grew. $4,800, $9,500, $7,400, and dozens more small draining amounts. One night, after wiring money for another one of Caden's critical business opportunities, I closed the laptop and whispered, "This is my life now." The ledger sat on the screen, quiet and damning, and I knew, even then, none of them planned to pay a single dollar back. 4 winters after I returned home, I finally let myself believe I could have something of my own. His name was Alex, a landscape architect with a quiet smile and hands that always smelled faintly of pine. He understood old buildings, forgotten orchards, and people who stayed long after they should have left. For the first time in years, someone saw me as more than the person who held everything together. The week before Christmas, he surprised me with an envelope. "Pack a bag," he said. "Monterey, 3 days, no chores, no ranch talk, no Dalton expectations." I laughed, breathless. "You are serious." "I want you to have a holiday that belongs to you," he said. It felt like a beginning. Then, the night before we were supposed to leave, my phone rang. Caden. His voice was frantic, fast, already pulling me back into the orbit I was trying to escape. "You need to come to Modesto. Now." "I cannot," I whispered. "Not tonight." "It is an emergency," he snapped. "A zoning inspector flagged one of my flips. I could lose everything." I pressed my hand to my forehead. "Caden, I have plans." From the background, I heard Elaine's voice, sharp, commanding. "Rory, do not abandon your brother. Not during Christmas." Caden seized the opening. "If you care about this family, you will come." I looked at Alex through the doorway. He was packing his camera, humming softly. Something inside me cracked. "I will be there," I said. The drive was long and bitter. By the time I helped Caden sort through the paperwork, Alex had texted twice. When I returned 2 days later, exhausted, the house was quiet. His suitcase was gone. He left a note on the table. "I cannot spend my life competing with your family. I care for you, but I cannot be another burden you carry." My hands shook as I folded the paper. Christmas lights twinkled in the window, soft and cruel, and I realized I had just lost the one thing that had never demanded anything from me. It was late December when the cold finally pushed me into the old barn. A storm had passed the night before, and the roof leaked in 3 places. I dragged a ladder inside, muttering to myself, when my foot hit something solid beneath a stack of dusty tarps. A wooden chest, old, heavy, carved with initials I knew by heart. A.D. My breath caught. "Grandma, what did you hide here?" I knelt and pulled the lid open. The hinges groaned like they had not moved in years. Inside were Agnes's journals, envelopes tied with ribbon, and a sealed folder with my name written in her looping script. I froze. My name. In her handwriting. The folder trembled in my hands as I opened it. The first page was a legal document, stamped and dated. I scanned it once, then again, then out loud without meaning to. A grant deed, transferring full ownership of Dalton Ridge to Rory Dalton. The date hit me like a blow, 11 years earlier, a full year before Agnes died. "No," I whispered. "This cannot be real." Beneath the deed was a letter. I unfolded it with shaking fingers. "My dearest Rory, if you are reading this, then my time has already passed. I want you to know the truth before the others twist it. Dalton Ridge is yours. It has always been yours. You are the root that holds this land steady. Caden reaches for the sun, but you carry the soil beneath your feet. That is why I chose you. I told Warren and Elaine to inform you. I fear they will not. Protect this place, my girl. Love, Agnes." I sat back hard, clutching the pages to my chest. Caden had screamed at me every year, calling the ranch his birthright, while my parents let him believe it. No, encouraged it, even though they knew the truth, even though they knew this land belonged to me. Footsteps crunched outside the barn. Warren's voice drifted in. "Rory, you in there? The pump needs fixing again." I wiped my face with my sleeve. "I will handle it." He nodded as if it were obvious. "Good." Caden and I have some things to discuss about the ranch's future. I looked down at the deed in my hands. Everything inside me turned cold and sharp. Their future was not theirs anymore. I drove straight to Sophia Moreno's office the next morning, the deed and Agnes's letter tucked inside my coat like a second heartbeat. Sophia looked up from her desk as I entered, her dark eyes sharpening. "Rory, you look shaken. Sit." I laid the documents in front of her. "Tell me this is real." She scanned the deed, her expression turning grim. "It is real. Completely valid. Agnes signed this 11 years ago." "My parents never told me," I said, my voice thin. Sophia exhaled slowly. "After Agnes passed, I contacted Warren and Elaine. They insisted they would explain everything to you themselves. They also requested that I stop sending property tax notices to your address." My hands curled into fists. "They blocked the mail?" "Yes. They claimed it was to avoid overwhelming you. But legally, this deed has been yours for over a decade." She tapped the page. "Rory, they kept this from you intentionally." The air felt heavy in my lungs, but something cold and steady was forming inside me. "I need proof." Sophia nodded once. "Then get them talking." That evening, I found Elaine in the kitchen, humming as she wiped the counter. I slipped my phone into my pocket and pressed record. "Mom," I said casually, "the latest property tax increase. How are you and Dad managing it?" She didn't hesitate. "Oh, you know, we always manage. This is our home. We do whatever it takes to keep it." Our home, not mine. Never mine in her eyes. "Right," I said softly. "Of course." She didn't notice the tremor in my voice. Later, I drove to Agnes's grave, the cold air stinging my cheeks. I stood there with the deed in one hand, the phone still recording in the other, and whispered, "I do not know how to fight them." A hawk cried overhead, sweeping low across the orchard. I straightened. "I hear you," I said. The decision settled in my chest like steel. I would protect what she left me. I met Sophia again 2 days before Christmas, the deed and recordings stored neatly in a folder between us. "We do this carefully," she said. "Caden is reckless, but he is not stupid. Push him too hard and he will hide everything." I nodded. "I know exactly how to bait him." Her brow lifted. "How?" "Greed," I said. "He cannot resist the idea of easy money." That afternoon, I called Caden while standing near the orchard gate, letting the wind mask the tightness in my voice. "Hey," I said lightly, "did you hear the Henderson orchard sold? Some tech company bought it for $1.7 million. There was a beat of silence, then the exact reaction I expected. $1.7 million? Caden breathed. "For that rundown place? Crazy, right?" I could practically hear the gears turning in his head. "You know," he said slowly, "maybe it is time Mom and Dad cash out. They deserve comfort, and I have connections who could get us a deal." "Sure," I replied, "if it is really worth that much. That night, I received a text from an unknown number. Daniel Kerrigan, developer. Your brother says you will help expedite access to the ranch. We are prepared to move fast. I stared at the message until my chest turned to ice. Caden had already made his move. The next morning, I drove into town and parked outside a small cafe where Caden sometimes met his business partner, Trey Nolan. I stayed in the truck, recording device ready. Within minutes, I caught what I needed. Caden's voice spilling confidently through the cracked window. 60,000 down already, he bragged. Kerrigan thinks I am the owner. Rory lives there for free. She will sign whatever I put in front of her. Trey whistled low. You better hope she does not ask questions. She won't, Caden said. She never does. Sophia listened to the recording that evening, her jaw tightening. This is fraud, Rory. Real estate fraud, wire fraud, and misrepresentation of ownership. I breathed out slowly. Good. Because now, the pieces were in place, and Christmas dinner would be the stage. The living room glowed with soft Christmas lights, but the warmth they promised never reached the table. We had just finished the roast when Caden stood, clearing his throat like a man preparing to announce a royal decree. Mom, Dad, he said proudly, I have news. Lana and I found a buyer for Dalton Ridge, a serious developer. It is time to retire comfortably. Elaine gasped with delight. Oh, Caden, that is wonderful. Warren nodded, satisfied. About time someone handled things. I set my fork down. You already took a deposit, did you not? Caden's eyes snapped to me. What are you talking about? A man named Daniel Kerrigan messaged me, I said. He believes you own this ranch. Caden scoffed. Do not play games, Rory. You are a tenant. You do not understand business. I reached for my phone and placed it against the gravy boat. Good. Then you will not mind if we clear up the confusion. With one tap, Sophia's face appeared on screen, crisp and composed. Good evening, everyone. Elaine blinked. Who is... My attorney, I said. Caden's laugh cracked. Your what? Sophia's voice cut clean through the room. For legal purposes, I am recording this conversation. Earlier this week, Mr. Caden Dalton accepted a $60,000 deposit from developer Daniel Kerrigan while misrepresenting himself as the legal owner of Dalton Ridge. Warren stiffened. Caden, what is she saying? Caden glared at me. You are out of your mind. This is my birthright. I took a manila folder from my bag and slid it across the table. Read it. He snatched it open and froze. His lips moved, but no words came. Elaine leaned over his shoulder, her face draining. Warren whispered, a deed? Naming Rory? 11 years ago? Sophia continued. The transfer was executed by Agnes Dalton. Fully notarized, fully recorded. Miss Rory Dalton has been the sole legal owner for over a decade. Caden slammed the table so hard the plates rattled. No, she tricked Grandma. This is fraud. No, I said softly. This is the truth you did not want to face. I tapped my phone again. Caden's recorded voice filled the room. 60,000 down already. Kerrigan thinks I am the owner. Rory lives there for free. She will sign whatever I put in front of her. Elaine covered her mouth. Warren looked like the air had been punched out of him. You lied, Warren whispered. You lied to us. Caden's voice broke. Dad, I did it for us. For yourself, I said. Just yourself. Then I stood and opened my laptop. One keystroke brought up a spreadsheet glowing red at the bottom. The ledger, I said. Line by line. 7 years of sacrifice filled the screen. $82,000, I told them. All of it mine, all of it hidden, while you called me a burden. No one spoke, not even Caden. His rage had collapsed into something smaller, something scared. I closed the laptop gently. Merry Christmas, I said. The morning after Christmas, the house felt hollow. No shouting, no clinking dishes, no forced cheer. Just the soft creak of floorboards as Warren and Elaine avoided my eyes. Warren finally spoke first. Rory, we can talk about last night. There is nothing to discuss, I said. You hid the deed. You let Caden treat the ranch and me like property. You made your choice. Elaine reached for my arm. We thought it was best. You were young. You decided I did not deserve to know, I said quietly. And you let him take everything he wanted. Caden stormed in then, eyes bloodshot. You ruined me. Kerrigan is threatening a lawsuit. Trey turned on me. Do you have any idea what you have done? Exactly what you did to yourself, I answered. He pointed at me, shaking. This is not over. Sophia appeared behind me, having arrived early to finalize documents. Actually, Mr. Dalton, it is. Kerrigan filed an official complaint this morning. The IRS opened an inquiry within the hour. Caden's face drained. And, Sophia continued, handing Warren and Elaine 2 envelopes. These are formal 30-day notices. Miss Dalton is exercising her right as the legal owner. Elaine staggered back. You are evicting us? Warren whispered. Rory, we are your parents. You were, I said, but you were not a family. Caden let out a raw, wordless sound and slammed out the door. The truck engine screamed as he tore down the driveway. Sophia touched my shoulder lightly. You did what you had to. I nodded, though my chest ached. I know. Outside, a thin layer of frost covered the orchard. The land was quiet, waiting. 6 months passed before the house stopped echoing with memories I did not ask to carry. When Warren and Elaine finally moved out, they left quietly. No shouting, no apologies, just the dull thud of boxes and the slam of a truck door. Caden vanished after the hearings began, swallowed by investigations, lawsuits, and debts he could not outrun. I stayed. I worked. I rebuilt. One afternoon in late June, I walked the length of the driveway with Sophia beside me. We stopped beneath the old wooden arch that once read Dalton Ridge. The paint had faded, letters cracked like the family that carved them. You are sure about this? Sophia asked gently. Yes. I lifted the newly carved sign with both hands. Agnes Ridge. Sophia smiled. She would be proud. I hope so, I said. She believed in what this place could be. I spent the next weeks turning the barn into a workshop for Dalton Revival Company, sanding old beams, sorting tools, sketching restoration plans. Word spread faster than I expected. Neighbors, historical groups, even homeowners from towns I had never set foot in wanted help preserving their roots. For once, I was not fixing things because someone demanded it. I was building something that belonged to me. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the orchard, a familiar cry split the air. A hawk swept low over the rows of almond trees, its wings cutting through the orange light. I paused on the porch, the boards warm beneath my feet. I kept my promise, I whispered. My phone buzzed again. Another message from someone online asking for the next part of my story. I smiled to myself. If you are still here listening, I murmured, thank you. Sharing this helps the truth travel farther than I ever could. A breeze shifted through the branches, soft and steady. I closed the ranch gate for the night, the latch clicking into place. Not out of anger, out of peace.